There are 6 hidden forces making you lazy, distracted, and unmotivated. And I spent years studying this, like from neuroscience, biology, psychology, emotional intelligence, to figure this out. And when I figured out the forces holding me down, I changed things. And now I'm living a life that I feel truly fulfilled by. Like a life that I don't wake up wondering, is this all there is? And the same thing will happen to you when you understand what these forces are and how to get out of them. Once you learn this and you put this into your life, you are going to feel more in control. You will. You will see yourself making progress on the goals you've had for so long. You will finally make consistent progress. And you'll wake up with a deep sense of fulfillment and meaning and joy in your life because you're no longer being held down. Your potential is no longer being limited. And you're off the races doing what you want. So, what is the first thing? One out of the 6 forces holding you down. It's not having your identity created. Years ago, I challenged my friends, went to the gym, and I challenged them to a race. And the premise was we were just gonna hop on the treadmill and see how long we could go running, like who could run the longest. And before we did the challenge, as we getting ready, I asked myself, who do I want to be? Because not many people ask themselves that. Nobody asks who do they want to be. But I said, who do I want to be? And as I'm thinking, I said, well, the Flash. Because the Flash is one of my favorite superheroes. He's fast, he's a runner. Why not? So while we were doing it, I embodied the Flash in my mind, in my imagination. And to make a long story short, I won. Because while they were running as themselves, I was running as a superhero. And I was imagining myself going to save the president. Not Donald Trump, but like a different president, one that we actually rock with. And every time I got tired and I felt myself, okay, I think I need to stop, I would imagine somebody saying, no, but we need you, the Flash, we need you, you never give up. And I'd be like, you're right, I'm gonna save you. And so I would just keep going. So by the time my friends got off, I was still in it. Cause like at this point I was deep in a 50-stage mission to save the whole entire world. And when my friends pulled me off, they were like, yo, what? We could tell you were in your head. What were you thinking? I was like, I just saved the universe. I saved the Now the thing about this is picking your own identity actually has scientific like validity behind it. There are these people who did tests, like scientists who did tests with children, and in these tests or these experiments, they had like 2 groups of kids. And one group they said, just be yourself, and the other group they said, I want you to imagine that you're your favorite superhero. And then they gave each kid like an impossible thing to do, and they watched the kids to see how fast they would give up. The kids who didn't create an identity, they gave up like faster. But the kids who create an identity, they stayed locked in for a long time. And when the scientists asked them like, what motivated you? Why did you keep trying on this thing? The kids were like, well, Batman wanted to give up. Superwoman wanted to give up. Yeah, it gets hard, but they want to give up. So the kids weren't thinking about themselves. They were thinking from the standpoint, from the perspective of the superhero who wouldn't give up. Having an identity that you assign to, that you see life through, can actually influence you in so many different ways. The problem is, most of us only have the identity life has put onto us. Because life has put on the identity of an average person who does average things. What does the average person do? All they do is watch TV. They entertain themselves. That's it. They just entertain themselves and they work a job they don't like and they wonder why they're not doing what they want. I've lived in that identity for a big part of my life. And a big reason why I lived in that identity was because I didn't know there was another way of living. I didn't know I could choose my identity. But the minute I chose my identity, that's when I started showing up as the person I wanted to be. And until you choose your identity, you're not going to show up as who you want to be. So the next question is, how do you create your identity? I'm going to put a little document right here. And in that is going to be areas of your life you can choose that matter to you. So pick 3 to 5 areas of your life that you want to put more focus onto. And when you pick those areas that matter to you in your life, think about what kind of identity can you take from that? Can you put onto yourself? What label can you put onto yourself? And then ask yourself, what would it look like? what would a day in the life of this identity look like, and write that down. It's kind of like you're creating a vision that goes along with the identity you're picking. So now with the vision, you'll know exactly what this person is doing, and you can do that. So I'm gonna leave you 2 examples to make this very clear cut for you. So I have my identities like written on my phone and everything. But the first one I would say is I picked the identity of a family woman. And for the vision, the woman who shows up that I strive to be is I make sacrifices for my family and show up when they need me. I take care of them. My family knows I care and love them because I'm always ready to support them in the time of need, push them to be better, and tell them straight up I care and love them. I put my family above my friends and work. Family's my everything, and I give them my all. I don't know, I got to transition. I'm sitting on the floor. But so I view myself as a family woman, and you just read how I view what I do in that role. And so now when I think about like how do I want to spend my time, what I want to do, I have in the back of my mind, well, what would a family woman do? Yesterday I was hanging out. Not yesterday. Yeah, no, it was Sunday. It was Sunday. Sunday I was out of town with my girl, and we were chilling and everything. When I was going home, normally I would just go straight home and lay in bed and relax because, I've been out. Or I would either be productive and like clean up. Well, that day I was going to my grandparents because they needed to get groceries and they didn't really have a way out. And even though it was out of my way and I wanted to really just chill at home, what would a family woman do? She would make sacrifices for family. And so I sacrificed being able to go home just immediately for my girls and not do nothing to being able to get the groceries for my grandparents. And the only reason I was able to do that instead of not was because I had created my identity. See, the average person, though, they wouldn't have thought, well, what can I do? They would have just gone straight home and then just entertain themselves for the rest of the day. So that's why it's so important to have these roles and these identities, not identity roles, but these identities and these visions. When I say role, just know I basically mean identities. Basically the same thing, but you're getting the point. The next one I'll give you is entrepreneur. I am a successful entrepreneur with services to help people reach their goals and self-develop. I take risks, try new ways of thinking, and succeed at every venture I take with persistence, discipline, and determination. I am financially successful, have no debt, and continue creating new services and products of value. I solve problems, think hard and long on issues, and I do my very best at every endeavor I take. And so, the same thing applies to entrepreneur. And it's the reason why I make videos like this and why I've been making videos. I have the identity of an entrepreneur, so every day I ask myself, what would an entrepreneur do? An entrepreneur would get up, as soon as they're up, they will work on their business, the one that matters to them. It's 6:17 a.m. I got up at 5. I did my morning routine. And then, here I am, recording. Now, if I didn't have this identity of an entrepreneur, if I continued to co-sign to the identity the world gives to us by default, the average identity, when I woke up, what would I have done? I would have snoozed. I would have slept in late. I would have got on my phone. I would have scrolled. Like, I would have done things differently, a lot differently, because of the identity I assign myself. So that's why it's so important that we become very clear about what actually matters to us, because so many of us say we want to do this, we want to do that, but until we get clear on what this and that is, nothing's going to happen. We work very well with clarity, but if you don't give us clarity, we're going to fall to the default, and most of us don't like the default stage of living. So my challenge to you is to switch it up. Look at that whole balance, that whole life sheet I put up there. I'll put it back up here again. Look at that and pick the 3 to 5 areas of life that matter to you. And then pick what is your identity in that. So family is something that matters to you. Okay, you're a family person. If you pick hobbies, okay, well, you could be a hobbyist. Maybe you could think deeper. Well, what hobby do I want to get into? Maybe it's music. Okay, well, I'm a musician. I'm an artist. If you pick entrepreneur, okay, well, what identity could that be? Maybe it could be a drop shipper. Maybe it could be a business person. Pick it and then give yourself a vision. So it's the first thing that's keeping you lazy, distracted, unmotivated. Get very crystal clear about what matters to you. The second thing is having no purpose. My friend, this might be controversial, but my friend is having a kid. and we were talking on the phone, and I was telling her I'm jealous, but not jealous, but kind of jealous that you're having a kid, because a child, raising a child will fill your life with so much purpose, because your purpose basically tells you what you were meant here to do, what you were put here to do. Now I'm not gonna say like a kid is the only purpose a parent will ever have, because we all have many purposes, but a kid does bring a purpose in your life, and the purpose is to make sure that kid is okay. That is it. I mean, we came into this world with two main purposes. It is to stay alive and to procreate. And so staying alive is, we're just doing that. Most of us are struggling, but we're doing it. But having kids and procreating is another big part of our purpose here, biologically speaking, is taken away from us. Like back in the day, people would have kids like around in their 20s, they would have kids and start raising a family early on. So at a young age, they weren't thinking about themselves like, oh, what do I want to do? No, they were thinking about their kids. They wake up and think, I don't feel like going to work, but I gotta make sure my kid has food to eat. So I'm gonna go ahead and go on to work. Oh, things are too hard. I want to give up, but I'm not, because my kid, I gotta make sure, like they had that motivating force, that purpose that kept them in the game. But nowadays, we're living in this modern world where we're not having kids as early on. We're having it later on in life. My friend is having her kid early on, like around in her 20s. So she's gonna have that purpose in her life that makes things, I'm not gonna say makes it easier, but it wakes her up and gets her out of bed for a reason. Most of us wake up and don't have a reason to get out of bed other than go to work. But what kind of purpose is to just live a life and go to work? So now in this day and age, our purpose is gone. One of the big purposes in our life is gone. I'm not saying a kid is everything, but it's a big purpose that's been taken away from us. And so now what's been replaced with that? Nothing. We have not replaced that purpose with anything. And so what happens is, now we wake up purposeless. We don't know what we're here to do. We don't know what's important. And so we spend our time on unimportant things. We spend our time doing what the average person does, which is waste time, do nothing, and then feel guilty because we're not reaching our potential. I'm telling you, if you want to switch that up, all you gotta do is find your purpose. That's all you gotta do. Now, how do you find your purpose? There's two questions you gotta ask. First is, what are you naturally good at? What did you come to this world gifted at? For me, that's always been writing and teaching. I've always, my mom is a teacher, so maybe that's why I like gravitate towards teaching too. But it's always been writing and teaching. Now, once you figure out what you can gain, what your craft is, and what you can gain mastery in, go all in on that. When you achieve when you're working towards mastering something, that fills your life with so much more meaning. But that's not purpose, that's meaning. We gotta figure out purpose. So when you know your craft and what you're working on, the next question to ask is, how can you use the mastery you're growing in this skill, in this craft, to help all of humankind, to help push evolution towards a better stage? How can you help your fellow species out? Now, when you figure that out, you have to figure out your purpose. And this will be the one thing only you can do. This will wake you up in the morning and fill your days with just more meaning and direction and clarity, because you know what you're put here to do and you're actually taking action to do it. So what is my purpose? The first question is, what can I gain mastery in? Well, I came into this world good at writing, and so I'm gaining mastery in writing. And for like the past 2-3 years, all I did was every single day write for 2 hours straight. That's why I filled up notebooks by hand, because every single day I was writing. That's why I've written thousands of blogs. That's why I've written so many guidebooks, because it wasn't just to write. It was so I can gain mastery and feel like I'm really getting this. I'm really figuring this out. Now, the next part, how can I use writing to help influence humankind in the best way possible? Well, I'm pretty good at self-improvement. I'm pretty good at helping people reach their goals, so why not write things about that? Why not write exclusively about that and put that content out to help somebody who was struggling like I was? Highly ambitious people who need that guidance. I can write to them. And so when I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking, how can I help you? I'm the only one who can do this. I'm the only one who can reach you and teach you what you need so that you can become the best version of yourself possible, so that you can live your amazing life. And that purpose is what drives me every single day. This is what makes my life feel like it's a game and no longer like I'm on survival mode and struggling. Like, nothing in my outside world has changed yet. But everything inside me has changed, meaning everything in my outside world has changed. Problems don't get to me anymore. I'm not rushing through life. I wake up at peace because I know what my purpose is. I know what my main priority is, and I'm working on it every single day. So no matter what's happening out there, I'm okay in here. And that essentially makes everything outside there okay. So that's the second thing. You gotta figure out your purpose. The third thing is bad health. This is like a top. This is the fundamentals, and I would have put it at the first thing, as the first step I talked about, but I didn't want to because it's like obvious. But this is something that must be covered. Your health will keep you lazy because your health either influences your energy in a good way or bad way. Now Sunday, no, it was Saturday, so 3 days ago. I guess the specific days ago doesn't matter, but I went over to my girl's place, and I got there. I dropped on the couch. Why? Because I had been suffering from huge migraines. Every single time I stood up, sharp pain would just come to my head, and I just felt like such crap. Low energy, dull, didn't want to do anything, and we essentially just ended up cuddling in her bed and watching TV because I just couldn't. And normally I don't watch TV, so that's how you know I was down. I was down bad. And she was telling me, like, I think you're sick. And I kept telling her I don't get sick because I rarely get sick. So I'm like, nah, I'm just out of it. But after a while, she got too concerned and finally got me to take some medicine. I took the medicine. Woo. When that medicine kicked in and the migraine went away and the grogginess went away and just the sickness, I don't think I was really sick, but the sickness, the energy that came back to me was crazy. All day I had been laying around groaning and moaning, can't do anything. Now I was up, moving around, being productive, like, oh, I got this energy, I gotta do this, like I'm preparing for bed, I'm brushing my teeth. And my girl is in bed. She's like, oh, you feel better, don't you? That's why now you feel like you gotta get things done. Yes. Like, I feel good. I'm back on 10. Like, let's get it done. Like, I'm not laying around. We got some money to get. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, your health is so important. And this modern day and age, we don't take care of our health. We take it for granted. I drove past Chick-fil-A, and I saw 2 lines of cars wrapped around trying to get some Chick-fil-A. As I was driving to my job, there was an ad, and on that was a big Pepsi can that said, your town's favorite refreshment. So first of all, everybody wants to just eat fast food. Not everybody, but the average person is just crazy for fast food. And as you're driving, you see advertisements telling you should be drinking this. Drink this soda that's going to kill you instead of this water, because this soda is going to refresh you, but this water that's actually good for you, we don't even care about that. Get the Pepsi. Now, as I kept driving back to work, I drove past the gym, and guess how many cars I saw there? 4 cars. So as a society, we value the easy path. We value pleasure over improving our health because it's so common to see things like that. So in this society, it's so common to take our health for granted and not even think about, oh, how can I improve it? But I'm telling you right now, if you want to have the energy and the drive to do what you want, to get to where you want to go, your health is important. And it's something you got to take care of. But how? How do you take care of your health? There's 3 factors to cover. Sleep. Get your 7 to 9 hours of sleep. No more, no less. Some people may need 10, 11, 12. And if that's you, like I always say, get the sleep you need. But on the average, most of us just need 7 to 9. I thrive off 8 hours. 7 is okay for me. I can do good on 7. But if I want to have like a big brain, 8 hours is for me. I tried 9. It's too much. It doesn't resonate with me. So 8 to 7. If I do 6, And I actually experimented with this. Like, I tried to experiment because I wanted more time. And I'm like, well, what if I just sleep less? So I did 6 hours. And after, like, I was going to test it out for 2 weeks. And at the end of 2 weeks, I was going to assess how I felt. Girl, boy, you. Like, after 5 days of getting 6 hours of sleep, I had to stop the experiment because my impulse control went so down. I'm telling you, I was eating cake in the morning. That's when I knew something was wrong. Eating cake in the morning, getting donuts. I could not stop myself. I just had to get it. And I sat down and I thought, why am I doing this? What happened to me? Am I going down? And I thought, what am I doing differently? And I said, well, I'm getting less sleep. And that's when it dawned on me, okay, I need to get more sleep. That's how important sleep is. It really influences you. So that's important. Get your 7 to 9. Figure out how much you need. Now, what this does mean is, if you're getting 7 to 9, you're finding out that range that works for you, you got to wake up a little bit earlier. You can't sleep in late, because if you sleep in late, you're gonna be getting more sleep than you need. So you got to get up a little bit earlier. I get up at 5, not because I just want to be the person who gets up at 5, but because I only need 7 hours to sleep. So sleeping in late, like sleeping until 8, 9, 10, that doesn't cut it for me, because that's going to give me more sleep than I need, right? The second thing is your diet. And the easiest, simplest way to clean up your diet, because the food you eat is so, so important. So important that one time I had cake and pizza with my girl, and I knew that was going to mess me up, because it's like carbs and sugar in the morning. The worst thing you can do is eat sugar in the morning. Now, you can have it in the afternoon for lunch, but in the morning, when you're first starting off, worst thing you can do. And we ate that, and then later on hung out. When I got home, though, I crashed. Like, I'm on the floor laying around. I couldn't do nothing. I was just out of it. And I just fell asleep. Didn't do nothing. Then eventually I woke up and was craving a salad. Like, I wanted a salad so bad. I went to the kitchen and, made one up. And the second I ate that salad, I felt my energy come back. Like, instantly my energy came back. That's how drastic food has on your energy levels. When you're eating bad food, you're just going to feel drained. When you're eating good food, you'll feel uplifted, energized, and ready to go. So how to eat the right foods? Just eat foods with single ingredient items. Or at least foods with ingredients you can read. So if I go to the grocery store and pick up a bag of pork chops, or like a pack of pork chops, and I look at the ingredients, I'll see pork chops, and that's it. If I pick up banana peppers, a can of banana peppers, and I look at the ingredient list, I'll see banana peppers, distilled vinegar, sea salt, water. I can read all those ingredients. If I pick up a slice of cake and look at the ingredient list, the only item, and it's going to be like 30 items up there, the only items I can tell you the name of is sugar and flour. Why would I put that in my body? You know what that's doing to you. It's messing you up. So be aware of the things you put in your body, because all those extra chemicals and ingredients, and this is controversial, but calories don't matter. People will look at something and they say, oh my God, it's 210 calories. This is better because it's less, and then this one is 500 calories. Are you looking at the list of ingredients? Because yeah, it's 210 calories, but if you see like there's all these things you can't read, why would you put that on your body? You're focused on the wrong thing. You're focused on the wrong thing. That's a side rant, but just be very aware of what you're putting in your body, because it influences you drastically. The average in the world wants you to be influenced by the food you eat, which is why the world advertises bad food to you all the time. That's why it is so common to see people with diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, because we are advertised to all the time to eat horribly. But nobody ever talks about health. And even like the food pyramid we see, that's even like the food pyramid, there were no real studies that gone into that to test if that was real for us. Like, the scientists who came up with the food pyramid were, what's the word? They were bribed by the big food industrial companies that they could put more stuff out and more of us should buy it and think it's healthy. But that's a whole tangent. I'm not gonna get deep into that. Just eat single ingredient foods. And the last thing to improve your health is movement. Get more movement in. That's why I'm sitting on the floor right now. I'm sitting cross-legged. You can't see it right now. But most of us spend our time just sitting, not moving. Which is horrible, because We are a moving species. Like, we're meant to be moving around. We're meant for more movement. But we're stuck inside. We're never outside like that. We're sitting all the time, cramped up, spine all in a funky position. We got back pain. We don't know why. It's because we aren't moving around. Like, it's important to do that. And there are simple ways you can do this more. And you might be thinking, but what about working out? Can I just work out? Working out is fine, but it's like if you work out for 1 hour a day, you still have 23 hours left. So you did something for that 1 hour, but what about the other 23? Are you gonna just lay around and do nothing? Well, that's gonna negate the workout you did. So to move more, just stand up more, sit on the floor. Like earlier in the video, you saw me moving around. That's why I sit on the floor. So it forces me to fidget around. And when this position gets uncomfortable to me, I'm going to move elsewhere. And that's going to keep me moving around. But if I was sitting in this chair, I could sit in the same position for hours. That's also why I have a standing desk in my room. So when I'm working, I can stand up at my table and just like stay. When I'm working at my office job, I could sit all day, but I choose to stand up. Because I understand that standing is very important for us. Like, just movement in general. So that's the 3 things to focus on to improving your health: sleep, your diet, and more movement. Now the next thing, and now it's time for me to reposition my legs. The next thing is you have low dopamine. And I'm not gonna go too deep into neuroscience dopamine, because that is literally a video I need to make in and of itself. I'm gonna explain this. I'm gonna give you a general understanding, and then we're just gonna move on. So, to give you this, first of all, everything I learned about dopamine came from 2 major sources: Andrew Huberman, which is a neuroscientist at Yale or Harvard, I think it's Yale, and Anna Lemke, who wrote a book called Dopamine Nation. I studied the mess out of those things. I took notes. I did what they suggested, and it's been years. I even wrote a guidebook on dopamine, explaining how I took my insights from it, that I'll put in the description too, so that you can learn from that as well if you're interested in that. Now, mind you, this video was made years ago, so like you may see a different person. Like, I'll be there, but like I might have a different vibe, different energy. But like the information in there is still good. I say all this to say that what you're about to learn is accurate. Like, this is true science. And I might not be spraying the true science way. I'm going to put my own bro science spin on it. But regardless, this will impact you if you actually pay attention and use it. So, to make you, first of all, what is dopamine? It's a chemical in your body. That's it. And it's typically associated as the pleasure chemical, where if you eat some cake, dopamine goes off in your brain. And this is the bro science way. So if you're in neuroscience or biology and you're looking at this and you're watching this and you're thinking you're explaining it horribly, there's a reason. Because what matters more than the specific the specific step-by-step understanding is that you get a sense of what matters, so that you can use it in your life to get results and change things around. And that's what I'm trying to give you. I'm sorry that I'm making a big disclaimer. But anyway, dopamine, like, you eat cake, dopamine releases in your brain, dopamine hit, and you feel pleasure. You have sex, you do drugs, you're on social media, you see a good friend. In all those instances, dopamine releases and you feel pleasure. So it's been assumed that dopamine is the chemical for pleasure. But a scientist wanted to see if that was accurate or not. And so he did this experiment where he took 2 rats and put them each in a separate cage. Now, 1 rat he left normal. He didn't do anything to it. The second rat, he depleted it of dopamine. And then he gave each rat some cheese. Now, the rats, they both ate the cheese, and they both liked it. They both experienced pleasure. And the scientists could tell the rats experience pleasure because there's some behavior they do that signals that they like what they're eating. So they did that behavior, and the scientist was like, okay, cool. So he concluded that dopamine is not needed for pleasure, because the rat without dopamine ate the cheese and enjoyed it. So that led the scientists to a different question: what is dopamine for? So then the scientists moved the cheese a little bit away from the rat. And the rat with dopamine went to get the cheese, but the rat without dopamine did not go to get the cheese. And so from that experiment, the scientists concluded dopamine is not needed to experience pleasure. It is needed to feel the drive needed to go after the thing that will give you pleasure. Now, the problem with this day and age is that the world we're living in is draining our dopamine. It's leaving us like the dopamine depleted rat, where we know the thing we want, the thing that will give us pleasure, the thing that will fill us like our life with joy and meaning and fulfillment. We know what it is, and it might be like just a little bit away, but we don't have dopamine needed to do the work, to go through the effort, to move forward, to get the thing that we want. That dream life you have is literally that piece of cheese that's right there. It's right there. You're looking at it like, oh my God, I want it, I want it, I want it. But you're like, I can't get off this couch to get it. I can't stop watching social media. I can't stop watching TV. I can't stop taking drugs. I'm just doing these things, but it's not what I want. What I really want is to put in this work and to change and to grow and develop. It's because your dopamine is low. Now, how do you recharge dopamine? Well, first of all, how do you lose dopamine? Whenever you experience pleasure, dopamine goes. So first of all, we all have dopamine all inside of us. We have a baseline amount of dopamine. It's like a baseline amount of water in the pool. When you go to the pool, you see there's a certain amount of water. That's the baseline. When our dopamine comes out, it basically just like it's like a packet that dumps in our body. That's how and when we feel pleasure, that dopamine is releasing. That's how we lose dopamine, because when that pleasure comes, dopamine releases, and the dopamine we have inside of us goes down because it's been shot out. I'm hoping I'm making sense. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, because when it shoots out, if you give it some time, it'll recharge, and then boom, come back again and recharge. So if you give your dopamine time to recharge, then nothing will happen to you. You won't get a low amount of dopamine. The problem in this day and age is that we do not give ourselves time to let dopamine recharge, because dopamine releases when you experience pleasure. And what do most of us do? What does the average person do all day long? They run towards pleasure and experience it as much as they can. As soon as they wake up, they're on their phone, just scrolling through funny clips on social media. So as soon as they wake up, they're releasing dopamine, but they're not letting it recharge, because they're not getting off the phone long enough to let that dopamine come back. Then they get off the phone, and then they sit down in front of TV and they eat sugary foods. Dopamine releasing. And all like the rest of the day just follows that same pattern. And so by the end of the day, dopamine low. They want to do something. They want to go to the gym. They want to read a book, but they can't. They don't feel like it. And so they go back to the TV, and now more dopamine. Now, dopamine releases whenever you feel pleasure. So you can be watching TV, you can be eating, you can be being with your friends. It doesn't matter. But the amount of dopamine that releases can vary. So there's a low amount of dopamine that can release, and there's a high amount of dopamine that can release. And most of us are releasing high amounts, because anything that's very stimulating, that provides us a big bunch of pleasure, will release a big bunch of dopamine, like cocaine, like sex, like chocolate, coffee. Like those things release a lot of dopamine. Social media, those things are like the FaceTimes of our phone. Like our phone, if you're on FaceTime all day long, or just for a few hours, the battery will quickly drain, because it takes up so much battery. But if you're on the calculator on your phone, you can be out there all day and your phone will not die, because it's a low way of releasing dopamine. And for you, you want to get into a position where you are living life like you're on the calculator, where you're doing these low things that don't release a lot of dopamine. So then you'll have to drive, where all day you can be getting things done that you want to get done. You don't want to be the person where you're on basically FaceTime all day, because that's going to drain your battery. That's going to drain your dopamine. That's going to leave you not having to drive to do what matters. So this leads to the question of, how do you release low amounts of dopamine instead of high? But first of all, now that you know how you lose dopamine, how to recharge it, you basically recharge dopamine by just being, and just letting it recharge, because it just takes time. But it's not going to recharge if you keep letting big dumps of dopamine come out, which is what most of us are doing with the society we're living in. So now, how do you shift from releasing big dumps? How do you shift from being on FaceTime in your life to releasing low dumps, being on a calculator? Basically, do what your ancestors did 100 years ago. Back before the Industrial Revolution, before the technology era, back when they didn't really have much, they just read, they went to church, they did social events, they were with friends, they hung out with family, they They painted, they worked on their craft, you know. They went to long events where people just spoke about important things for hours at a time. They just sat and listened to them. Went out to the track, saw the horses running. Like, they just lived a simple life that wasn't just them on their phone all day and just staring at screens, you know. And that's a really easy way. And also dopamine detoxing. That's a word that's been thrown around so many times, especially like a couple years ago, for all valid reasons. Like, it actually works, and you can look up videos on dopamine detoxing to get a better understanding of that. Also, I have the dopamine guidebook to give you even more understanding of that. But if you just ask yourself, will my ancestors do this? And if they would do it, you do it. If they don't do it, you won't do it. That will be enough to give yourself time to let your dopamine recharge. Because now you're not going to be doing these very high stimulating things that just releases too much dopamine. So, for example, if you want to hop on social media and scroll for a few hours, not a few hours, for a few minutes, but it's going to turn into a few hours, you can ask yourself, my ancestor 100 years ago do this? Well, they couldn't, because they didn't have a phone like this. So I'm not going to do that. Now let's say you want to chill, pass your time painting or drawing. You can ask yourself, my ancestors 100 years ago do this? Yeah, they would. They would have access to this, so you can do it. Let's say you want to hop on the game, play with your friends for a little bit. Will my ancestors do this? Well, no, because they didn't have gaming systems like that. So you don't. Instead, you can find a different way to hang out with your friends that doesn't involve draining away your dopamine. And of course, this doesn't mean you can never do entertaining things. It just means don't do that as often, because that really influences your drive. And it sucks that it's like that, but that's just human biology. And the society we're living in does not care about human biology. It cares about keeping you as a sheep. And the best way to keep you as a sheep is to drain your dopamine. So they make you want to live a comfortable, pleasurable life. But that lifestyle is draining your energy force needed to achieve greatness. So that's number 4. The 5th thing is not planning. We work best with clarity. So if we don't have clarity, we're not going to do it. Imagine I told you to go into a dark room. But you go in there. You don't know what's in there. I just told you to go. No, you wouldn't. But what if I turn the light on and you can see everything inside and know what you're getting into? You go in there. There's no problem. Most of us go through life in the dark room. We don't know what we're doing, and so we don't do anything. I'm going through life with a room full of light, and the only reason I have light, the only reason I can see what's going on is because I plan out my day. Like, literally, I'm gonna show you my schedule. Actually, I have it pop up. I was gonna pull it up on my phone, but I'll have my schedule pop up for today. The only reason I'm up here recording right now, recording this video, is because the night before I sat down and thought about what do I want to do today, and I planned it out. You're not going to wake up out of bed with energy and drive and that clarity if you don't even know what you're doing. If you don't know what the first thing you're doing today when you wake up, you're going to choose what's easy, which is to scroll on your phone, hit snooze, you'll go back to sleep. That's what you're going to do. You need to know what matters. And I want you to think about when you were in school, back when you were in high school, like middle school, when you knew, like, you had a schedule that you followed when you went there. In the morning, you went to English, where you had breakfast, then you went to English class, then math, then you had lunch, and then PE, and then you had history, and then you had whatever, and then you went off, and you went home, where you went to your sport, you did soccer, football, basketball, whatever, then you went home, and then you studied, and then you went to sleep, and then you woke up, and you know, okay, it's time to get up, I gotta go to school. Like, you weren't lazy moping around or anything. You were up and on it because you knew what you had to do that day, and you knew exactly when you were going to do it, what time, what you're going to be doing, all that stuff. You had it all laid out. But then when you get out of school and you have no schedule, you have no structure, you have no system, when you wake up in the morning, what do? Well, you don't know what you're doing, so you just lay around. Okay? And maybe you don't. Maybe you get up and you're productive for like the first hour. Okay, well, after that, then what? You just sit around and scroll on your phone? You will, because you don't know what else to do, because you have not planned it. Never start a day until it's over. And the only way to end the day is to plan out how that day's going to be. Then you go through it. Then you're more productive. Then you have more clarity, so you're up and at it. But without that, that's not going to happen. So how can you get into planning? Literally, just the night before you go to sleep, ask yourself, what do I want my day to be like? How do I want to spend my day? What do I want to do? And it'll be easier for you to figure out what you want to do because you figured out your identity. You know the 3 to 5 areas of your life that matter to you. So ask yourself, what can I do within that area of my life today or tomorrow? What can I do? And go through all day, your whole day, to figure out what you're going to be doing. And I'm going to show you my schedule, and I'll show you a few examples in my other schedule so you can get a good idea of how to do this. But yeah, plan out your day, and that'll make it easier for you to get up and be productive and do things that matter to you. And the last thing is low vibrational messages. The low energy, low frequencies. This is keeping you stuck. I was watching a reality show with my friend. I didn't put it on for myself. I don't like watching TV as much. I don't like watching it. I don't have a preference. I just prefer. I said I don't have a preference, but I prefer not to. I guess I do. I prefer not to watch TV. But if I'm out social, I'll watch it because people want to. So it's whatever. But I don't want to watch reality TV. Anyway, turn it on, and it was just people fighting and drama and negativity, and it literally drained me. Like, it was just the low energy. I didn't want that. And she was over here soaking it up, eating it up, and I'm not judging her at all. I know that sounds judging. We're just on 2 different energy levels at that point, just 2 different levels, and our frequencies weren't connecting. It wasn't linked in. I just couldn't watch that. I couldn't watch it. Like, it wasn't entertaining me. And eventually I left. And as I was walking out, getting in my car, I just felt like low. Like, everything I seen, all the energy had transmuted onto me. And I was like, oh, golly, that wasn't even it. And the only reason why I was feeling low was because those low vibrations, they actually affect you. The messages you hear, especially the things you hear, they affect you. If I told you right now you're ugly, you're horrible, nobody cares about you, and you let that get into your mind, you're going to feel affected. You're going to feel disempowered. You're going to feel ugly. You're going to feel like, oh my God, I want to hide. I'm horrible. Why? Because you let a low vibrational message get into your mind. Now, the thing is, we're living in a world that wants low vibrational messages to be in your mind all the time, because when you go on social media, it's negativity, it's drama, it's toxicity. When you listen to music, a lot of the music is just drugs, crime, sex, like things that are so low vibrational. When you talk to people, all they do is complain, they play the victim, they make excuses. Low vibrational. And you're letting all this stuff get into your mind, and now what's that gonna do to you? If me just saying you're ugly is enough to make you look at yourself differently and impact you, imagine what the world is doing to you at scale and how that's impacting you right now. I had this one call not too long ago, and the guy was like, for years he's been wanting to improve himself, but he still hadn't. And he said, when I clicked on your video, it was just so motivational and so inspiring. It changed me. I felt like I really could do something. What he was really telling me was, I stepped out temporarily from a world of low vibrations, and step into your frequency, which is high vibrational. And those frequencies came into me, and that made me feel motivated, inspired. What I'm saying to you is, if you stay in an environment of high frequencies, high vibrational messages, you get away from this world of low vibrations, you cut out social media, you stop watching the news, you get away from people who are complaining, or you change the conversation, you stop focusing on negativity, and you focus on the solutions, you focus on the things that are going well in your life, you're grateful, you have conversations that make you think differently in a good way. You listen to people who say you can. I'm telling you, if you get into a high vibrational environment where messages are empowering you, you will constantly feel motivated, inspired, driven, and you will be the high achiever you want to be, because those messages in your mind influence how you feel, and you're going to feel like a winner. And when you feel like a winner, you're naturally going to do what it takes to win. That's why every single day I prioritize listening to something that's high vibrational, whether it's the music I listen to, the books I read, the podcasts, the videos on YouTube I watch. Most of them are long. They're like an hour long of people just talking like I'm doing right now. This is high vibrational because I'm just talking goodness to you. I'm not telling you that you suck, you never do anything, you never achieve greatness. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you that you can do whatever you want, and here are some things you can do to get closer to your goals. That's all high vibrational. And because I listen to that stuff as often as I can, I'm always thinking high vibration. I'm always feeling the good energy. And that puts me in a spot where I can do the things I want to do. And you might be thinking it's not that deep, but I'm telling you it is. You gotta understand that the world we're living in wants you to be average, and there's so many things that it does not tell us that it's doing, that's draining you and keeping you low. But now you know. You know the 6 forces that's keeping you lazy, unmotivated, and what was the other one? Unproductive. So just change that, fix it up, and you can do so much in your life. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna go. Bye.